Hello everyone and welcome back to another entry in my How to Flank series in Battlebit. The map we are covering is probably the most difficult map in the game to flank on, and that map is of course Namak. Thus, without any further hullabaloo, let's jump right into the video. Without question, Namak is the textbook definition of constant combat kerfuffle. Almost any corridor around the map can become a choke point location, and since the map's height limit prevents many of the rooftops from being accessible and there's only so many of these corridors, the map almost forces you always to have to go through these choke points. But the saving grace for flanks on Namak is that the main battle is almost constantly moving from objective to objective. So if you can constantly seek out the corridor that has the fewest enemies, you give yourself the best chance to flank that main battle. However, this will take a lot of map knowledge and game sense to get it right, so don't get mad if your flanks don't work right away. So instead of just showing you cool paths to use for your flanks on Namak, to best explain this phenomenon, I'm going to do a hypothetical and kind of walk you through where you should go when certain things happen. So the C objective will always be our reference point because you can almost always find fights and enemies in that location. Alright, from this point, let's say the fight pushes from C down into F. What happens? Well, if you're on the defending side of this fight, you're going to want to stretch out your flanks as far as possible to each side. And I know that kind of seems self-explanatory, but when you're in this situation, it's extremely hard to get out of your own spawn. So really emphasize going for the edges of the map, even as far as looking like a speed gremlin, bobbing and weaving out of the buildings that you can get yourself into. But once you've made it past that front enemy line, cut your flank back as far as you can back towards those same enemies, and now you should be able to flank that very same front line. You could also cut your flank back towards C, which is our reference point that should always have enemies either in the objective or somewhere around it. Now, if you're on the attacking side of F, this is very easy. The F objective makes the enemies sitting inside it like sitting ducks because unfortunately, this objective is super easy to infiltrate. This is partly due to the fact that the F objective is one of the few buildings in which the roof is accessible. So compared to other buildings on this map, this building has countless entry points. Hence, all you gotta do is just pick a weird one and infiltrate. Now let's say the main fight has shifted towards the D objective. If you are attacking this objective, this is great news. As the enemies flood out of the D objective and head towards the corridor that leads to the C objective, you can flank from the sides with a pretty good success rate. Plus, if they're still stuck in the objective, this side route actually has pretty good success for infiltrating that building too. Now, unfortunately, the defense side is pretty screwed. Every which way you go, you are going to encounter some enemies, but your best shot is trying to go out from the back and around, kind of like with the F objective. If you haven't caught on yet, pretty much every time you're on the defensive, it's going to be really hard to flank, but it is still possible. Now, if the fight shifts to A, this might be the one case in which the defenders have a better chance of flanking than the attackers. This is because the A objective is situated in a better location for spawn players to be able to shoot out of their spawn towards attacking enemies. Thus, if you're defending A and you want to flank, use your spawn to your advantage and go towards B and then cut back around towards the attacking side of A. If you are attacking A, your best flanking bet is to just go up into the second floor and go down into the first floor if there are enemies there. There's no really going around this objective because the spawn for the enemy team is right there. Now let's talk about our reference point C. C is pretty much a free-for-all for both attackers and defenders. I recommend spending a couple lives feeling out where the attacking side is coming from, as it can be a little confusing sometimes, and then trying to plan a flank from there. This also works if you're the one attacking C, and really for both sides, it just is a method of trial and error. But this is the point where you really need that game sense, because you have to still make the path to the flank once you know where you should be flanking, if that makes sense. But this is kind of where B and E come into play, for while it's not impossible for the main fight to move to these objectives, it rarely ever happens. So using these two objective paths for your flanking paths will generally give you pretty good success. Now let's transition into some helpful tips and recommended weapons and gear. I mean, come on, this is pretty much the close quarter king of maps, so you're gonna probably want an SMG. For your tactical and depending on your playstyle, I recommend either flashes or smokes. However, in most cases, probably just use smokes. And even though there's not a ton of places to use this gadget, for gadgets, I recommend bringing a grappling hook just for the F objective alone. Finally, for a general tip, and this is a weird one, on, but if there's a window, just use it. I don't know why, but it seems like using window paths on this map generally results in good things. Well, that does it for this flanking video. If you like what you saw, maybe consider leaving a like, and as always, please tell me down below in the comments what map you want to see next and or other Battlebit ideas that I should do. Most importantly, thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope y'all have a great day.